Hi everyone, welcome to chapter 2. Today I'm going to talk to you about the three different levels of variables we'll be working with: nominal, ordinal, and interval. And a little later I'm going to teach you how to sort. So you can think of nominal as categorical, zeros and ones, either, for example, Democrat or Republican. Following the party ID example, you could think of an ordinal variable as strong Democratic, weak Republican, strong Republican. And you can think of interval as an exact number on a scale defining how Democratic or how Republican you are. So let's get started with page 29, describing nominal variables. First, I forgot to input my library function to get started. You always have to do that, otherwise your frequency functions won't work. So after that, you're going to want to input your frequency function, which is using the GSS dataset. So make sure you remember your weight at the end of the function. And I'm going to input it. You should get this big graph with just 5 or 6 of the horoscopes displayed on the x-axis. So we're going to now try and find the mode. As you can tell already, it's Leo because it's the highest one in the graph, but if you're just curious if we're using a lot of different variables, it would be easier to just use this WTD mode function. And as you can see, it gave us Leo. Now, if we copy and paste that frequency function and we put it in our next line of code and add a capital C at the end of the Q, we should get a much better looking graph. There we go. Next, we're going to describe some ordinal variables and find their medians. So first, on page 31, we're going to use the freq_c function for NES budget deficit X. And it's nice that RStudio will fill in your response for you once you start to fill it out. That gave us our first graph about public support for reducing the federal deficit. And this is our second, which is a little more different, about public opinion of Congress. Don't forget to weight it. And there it is. So now we're going to look for the median value, which is the 50th percentile of each of these functions. So don't forget, you can copy and paste. It really cuts down how many mistakes you accidentally make with this program. But try not to add double parentheses like I just did. And you should get fave strong, just like it is in the book. And we'll copy and paste the same from the other frequency function, WTD median, and you should get disapprove strong. So interval level variables represent the most precise level of measurement, and unlike nominal variables whose values stand for categories and ordinal variables whose values can be ranked, the values of an interval variable tell us the exact quantity of the characteristic being measured. So let's start with this frequency C function. It's GSS age, and don't forget the weight. And it should give us this huge graph, which is very difficult to read. And then we're now going to learn the describe function, which gives us a bunch of descriptive statistics about whatever data we're looking for. So this gives us a lot of information. You should also take a look at the lowest and the highest, as well as the mean and the 50th percentile, which is the median. we can do the mean function and use the weights so that we can get the exact interval variable. So now we're going to get into describing the dispersion of interval variables, and we'll start by describing the Hispanic percentage of each state's population as of 2010. So we're going to use the states dataset and Hispanic 10. It should give us quite a bit of information. The mean, the median, the low, the high. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to create a histogram with wtd.hist and the same dataset and data point, Hispanic 10. So that created this white histogram on the right. And now I'm going to show you how to style that histogram so that you can add color and X labels and main titles to any histogram or graph that you create. So you're just going to call the x-axis % Hispanic, and we're going to make the color gray, and we're going to make main title Hispanic population in US states. And then once you run that R script, it should change your whole histogram. You can tell immediately by the color as well as the x-axis. So the two most common measures of the dispersion of interval variables are variance and standard deviation, and I'm going to show you how to find those right now. It's very simple. wtd.var is for variance, just like in this example on page 38. And don't forget to include your weights, because it'll totally throw off your function if you don't include weights for GSS and NES. And this function is for your standard deviation. And again, because it's NES, you're going to have to include weights. And for the variance on the first example, you should have gotten 298.5129, and on the second example, 1.770014. So lastly, for this chapter, I'm going to show you how to sort, and that's using the function sortC. So as you can see here, right underneath that, I showed you what the actual function is. SortC, the data. So the data set we're going to use is state. The ID we're going to use is also state, because it's going to name each state. We want to sort by abort law 10, because that's the variable we're interested in. It records the number of restrictions on abortion imposed by each state in 2010. And then once you see it here, so numbers from 0 to 10, and a value of 0 means there's no restrictions. A value of 10 means there's the most restrictions. So if we want to change it into an ascending order instead of a descending order, we just change it to false at the end. And it'll give us our most strict at the bottom and our least strict at the top. So there you go. That's how you sort.